A U.S. Army soldier in uniform allegedly tried to smuggle illegal aliens into Texas. Authorities claim the soldier attempted to drive across a U.S. Border Patrol checkpoint with 2 illegal immigrants hiding in his vehicle. The court records show Border Patrol agents working the immigration checkpoint in Cerrita, Texas, arrested Eric Rodriguez earlier this week. The agents allegedly found 2 illegal immigrants hiding in the floorboard just beside the front seat. Once in custody, the illegal immigrants told an agent with Homeland Security Investigations that one of the men had paid $3,000 to be smuggled north and that Rodriguez was the driver of the vehicle.
The dedicated men and women who guard the American borders each and every day are an integral and critical part of the ever-growing need for national security. And as it is in most every business and most every form of law enforcement, the majority of them are those we can and should trust with our lives and our security. But several recent stories have raised questions about the vetting of border agents, such as the arrest of an off-duty agent in San Antonio, Texas, charged with assaulting a woman, and an agent facing murder charges for his alleged part in an extramarital affair. Let's learn more about the people protecting us by welcoming to MidPoint the Vice President and spokesperson for the National Border Patrol Council, Shawn Moran. Shawn, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you for having me.
Shawn, specifically, we look at a couple, I'm sorry, you didn't hear me there for a sec. Shawn, what we have here is a couple of things, and let's start this out. I mentioned the Alamogordo Border Patrol agent who was arrested recently in San Antonio. He was off duty. There is also a case where a U.S. Border Patrol agent opened fire north of the border, killing a Mexican teenager who was on Mexican soil nearly 2 years ago, and the civil rights attorneys are trying to keep the federal government from permanently sealing the name of that agent. There is a concern about some of the people who are there at the border. Can you give us an idea of what these people go through in order to become border agents? Because there are those who are now worried that maybe there are some people slipping through a crack here and there who may not be the right person to protect the border.
Well, first off, I'll say that in any profession, you're going to have people that don't perform as well as others, and I think law enforcement is no different. 10 years ago, when we tried to expand the Border Patrol under President Bush, our union spoke out against the hiring practices. We shortened the length of our academy, which was considered one of the toughest law enforcement academies in the country. We shortened that. We also curtailed the training that goes on at the academy. We split it into 2 different wings, one for Spanish, one for all the other topics that you need to learn. We also found out that the agency, at the direction of the administration, had curtailed the use of background checks. In some cases, people were being hired and trained and taught our methods and techniques and given a badge and a gun, and they had never had a complete background investigation.
All right, stop right there for just a second, Shawn, because that's an important point that I want to bring out here. You're telling us that of the Border Patrol agents here right now, I mean, not everybody, of course, we understand this, but for the most part, the Border Patrol agents that are now working the borders of the United States do not have background checks?
No, that's not what I said.
Okay,
I said
please.
At the time, they were not doing background investigations. Since that time, the background investigations have been completed. But our union spoke out saying that we need to investigate people before we put them in the field, before we give them the training, and to make sure that they are the right person for this job and that there's no red flags in their background prior to letting them know how we operate and allowing them the authority to go out there and make arrests.
Is enough being done then, in the opinion of the union and yourself, to make sure that the people who are Border Patrol agents are 100% up to snuff?
I believe it is. Now, you do not get this job without having a proper background investigation done. I'm not a fan of polygraphs, but I will say that the agency is using polygraphs to screen applicants. And I believe they've definitely taken steps to improve that. But it does seem like it is open season on Border Patrol agents and the decisions they make. If you were to listen to special interest groups like the ACLU, it would sound like Border Patrol agents are shooting every other person that they come in contact with, when the truth is something completely different. If you have an encounter with a Border Patrol agent, if you're a U.S. citizen, you have nothing to fear. If you are a criminal, then you will be arrested if you're here illegally or you're smuggling drugs or people or weapons. And by and large, I think it is less than 0.001% of the people that we arrest every year is deadly force used against them. So it is exceedingly rare. I can't think of a profession other than law enforcement where you have that kind of professionalism and you have those kind of odds here by medical mistakes than will ever be killed by Border Patrol agents.
I want you to hear something real quick here. This is a very fast soundbite. This is from KVOA TV, and this was regarding a news item itself about Border Patrol agents and discussing the reality of the job. Here, I want you to hear this.
The reality is we have a different job. We have a difficult job.
Now, that is an unnamed individual who claims to be a Border Patrol agent. Does that distress you when he says use any type of force out there to protect themselves? Or is that simply what the reality of the job is, and we've got to understand that?
The Border Patrol is not like your regular police department. We are a force that needs to go out there and protect a large amount of area. We are always outnumbered. I can't remember the last time in my career where the Border Patrol agents that were arresting a group of illegals outnumbered the group of illegal aliens. So it is a very difficult job, and you have people that are very motivated to get to this country, especially cartel members and career criminals, and they will do whatever it takes to get past a Border Patrol agent. So our union's job is not to, well, first of all, a Border Patrol agent's job is not to get assaulted, not to get killed. They have to go home. They have a family. They should go home at the end of their shift in one piece. And so when they make the choice to use deadly force or to use any type of force, as long as it's in accordance with policy, then they need to not hesitate. They need to be able to defend themselves, and they should not second guess their actions. They need to rely on their training and make sure that they protect themselves and their fellow citizens or any innocent third party that may be involved.
Shawn, have the actions and or the inactions of the current administration made it almost a very lawless area that Border Patrols are involved in right now, made it that much more difficult, and simply put it right at the agent sometimes that you've got to use deadly force maybe a little more often because it simply is just that much of an uncontrolled Westworld, if you will?
Well, I think the restrictions seem to only be applying to Border Patrol agents. We are very restricted in the areas that we're allowed to go enforce the law, but yet we seem to be taking actions through this administration that encourage illegal aliens to come to this country with little to no consequence. So agents are second-guessed by the administration, by the agency, and when it comes to defending themselves, as I said, no agent needs to get assaulted or get killed. If they need to defend themselves, then...
Many times where perhaps they want to leave their jobs, where there are those who are thinking about simply getting out because they can't do their job effectively, thanks to current administration rules and regulations?
Being a Border Patrol agent is a very stressful job, it's a very dangerous job, and it's also a very frustrating job. We are a political football. Neither side of the political aisle actually wants us to be effective. They talk a good game about border security, but when it actually comes time to accomplish that goal, neither side wants us to be effective.
That would be the follow-up to the question then, is what I said. Are there people, do you sense people leaving and Border Patrols wanting to get out, and perhaps a danger point here that you're losing agents simply because of what's happened?
I believe we have. Our hands have been tied in terms of enforcement. People work in areas that are far from decent medical care and educational facilities. They're working in very remote parts of the border at a very dangerous job. So if they can find a law enforcement job or even sometimes a non-law enforcement job in the private sector, people have done that. And right now, our manpower has been reduced due to salary cuts. So I do not blame Border Patrol agents that decide they are going to look for employment elsewhere.
And we got about 15 seconds left. Sounds like the Border Patrol agents are at the bottom of the governmental shoe.
Well, we've always been kind of the redheaded stepchild of federal law enforcement. And until things change in how we are treated and viewed, I think we'll remain in that position, unfortunately.
As a natural redhead, I take no offense whatsoever. Shawn Moran, thanks so much for joining us, my friend.
Thanks for having me.
All right, later this hour, a side story to all this. What, if anything, are South American nations really doing to stop what is a predicted second wave of illegal immigrants across the southern border? It's coming up right here on MidPoint.